Are we on now? Okay. We are on the final fifth show of Civic City, the art of cohabitation in Berlin and all things political. Maybe we don't need this mic, sir.
Or you can use
We just have two of those, and maybe that could work. Yeah. So we just can turn those off, and yeah, you can just have it. And to everybody watching this live, you must be having tremendous fun seeing fools trying to get shit done as we see. Be that as it may, we start now. Okay, this is the fifth and final installment of Civic City, the art of cohabitation. Created, produced, and run by Rana Vadikari, Karam Kaap, Fatouit Arken, Johannes Braun, Tak Theater, Akud Martnoy, Berlin Mondial Nachbarschaftscampus Damweg. And this final show will be a show that we will do with our tremendous and esteemed guests. The topic of our conversation will be Civic City Fifths, AI-assisted life, future information technology, and how our future will be affected by it. We are going to be more or less Berlin-specific, seeing that Berlin is a microcosm of Europe. I wouldn't say Germany for sure. And how what happens here will happen in many other places, and we should prepare for it. Guests from left to right are Sulafa Hijazi, and I have written it somewhere describing the many achievements of Sulafa Hijazi, so I shall read it if she permits me. Sulafa is born in Damascus, Syria. She's a director, visual and multimedia artist based in Berlin. She studied at the Higher Institute of Dramatic Arts in Syria, where she majored in dramatic studies, and the Städtelschule, Fine Arts, must be Swiss, Fine Arts Academy in Frankfurt am Main, Germany. Her animation and multimedia productions are very popular amongst Arab children and youth, and they have been shown to many TV channels and online platforms. They've also featured in national and international festivals, receiving several awards, among them the Golden or Best Animation Award in Hollywood, Russia, India, Cairo, and Iran for her feature animation film, The Jasmine Birds, in 2009. Hijazi is a founding member of the Spacetoon, the first free Arabic satellite channel for kids, and a board member of the CIFEJ, the International Center for Films for Children and Young People, from 2012 till 2017. That is the shortest I could get of Sulafa's achievement. We assure you is plenty more. On the right side is the wonderful guest that I have had the pleasure of meeting in 2017, as we just discovered. Katalin Genneberg is born in 1984 in Weissenfeld. She's a member of the Senate for Copenhagen from the party of Die Linke. She has been there since 2016. She specializes, or she has a bachelor's degree in culture and technology in 2010 and earned a master's degree in historical urbanism in 2014. She is a policy lead, at least from Die Linke, in urban housing, urban policy, and sustainable tourism. And she has written a book called Cozy Loft with a View of Displacement, How the Rental Platform Airbnb is Challenging Berlin. So there is a lot to unpack here, and I am very delighted to have her here. And I am very delighted that all 10 of you have come to see the show, and I'm very delighted to everybody who's shown an interest online as this goes out. I assure you we'll have many of these conversations, but to my guests and myself, I start with a conversation or a question that should be answered by now, but will take another 100 years to deliver. The first one, comically, as I have written it, is this: who is a Berliner, and what defines a Berliner?
Okay, it's interesting question. I've been always a claustrophobic, you know? So like trying to avoid this like a close kind of like identity or close things, you know? But for me, Berlin is not a place rather than a value somehow. So I would say like naturally Berliners who are the people who believe in the values of Berlin. And I've seen it, I would see it in a like larger border of kind of like tolerance. I feel there is something very interesting in the city which touches me, and that's how I feel that I'm Berliner, because I have these values. It's a city that is tolerant with FKK culture and also with women that swim in burkini. So this huge wide of diversity and tolerance, I think for me this is Berliner. It's like it's a value somehow.
Katalin, maybe you can use.
I try maybe.
Yeah. And the two of us will share this mic. Go ahead.
It's a really complicated question. I would say my first idea to answer it is to say there's Berliners and there's tourists. Okay. And I would say not tourists in a bad connotation, but as people who consume, come to Berlin consuming for a long time or a short time. Maybe there are also tourists for a year, yeah? But they are just here for consuming, and there's people who produce the city. So me as a city researcher, based on the ideas of Henri Lefebvre, I would say it's the production of space that makes people being part of the space, and this is like having Berliners who produce the city with their daily lives.
So, wow, you guys need to do something here.
Maybe we can use all of us one mic.
One mic? Just one, yes. Okay, we've decided to spare ourselves the rest of the mics and just use one, seeing that it's impossible to. One doesn't work now? Okay. Okay. They don't have on and off. If they had one, it would have worked. Anyway, continuing with the conversation. This specific episode's conversation has to do with the future. Now, me and my producing partner, Karam, has cut the future to what I would say would be the next 5 years. And the next 5 years is a long enough time for us to look at the looking glass and see what kind of change may or may not happen. Now, I have here a tiny thing that I have written of what questions we may face, but I will try to read them in the sense that we have an understanding. How does a future that involves AI being more streamlined and efficient looks like in Berlin? How will it change our future? And how do the inhabitants of Berlin relate or cohabit in seeing that some of them may have to lose their jobs and their livelihoods due to this inefficiency stated by a future that has a lot of AI in it? Me and Sulafa had a little conversation, and what we said was, well, if the bureaucracy was far more efficient, I think the audience here would also agree, would be better. The conversation then becomes, what does a far more streamlined and efficient Berlin look like, in your opinion?
Me, as a very critical person about the idea of a smart city, I Jesus. No. No. Yeah, but it doesn't work. Anyway, so being so critical about the smart city, I cannot easily answer this question about what brings us, what does technology brings us for the future, because if we look in the past, in the last 5 years, for example, we really missed a good path we had to went already, and we really have now missed the opportunity to implement like self-organized tech associations or data sovereignty and so on. So we are already in a big mess, and cities worldwide face the situation that technological companies overcome and really overtake the cities. And the city itself becomes more and more now like a buffet for the technological companies to just take out what they need. Like we have a lot of delivery services just driving around for collecting data, and we all have Airbnb. Still, we have this Airbnb problem and so on. So I can not easily say if it go more and more worse, or if we really find a place to discuss technological alternatives for the future. And also the AI debate is really it's not here. So I talked to Francesca Bria 1 month ago. She was like the digital officer of Barcelona, and she's really well informed about all these technological sovereignty questions. And yeah, she told me a lot about these AI problems, especially confronting the culture. And people are really looking for the questions of ownership. Yeah, what can I do if I'm an artist? What is the question of ownership in times of AI? And there is no debate, no political debate on it. I mean, there is some, but not a real one that could face the real problem. So what we see in this technological debate since the last 10 years, politics does not really take the time, or is in the same time that technological development is. And this is really a big problem, because it's not the question of just good service in our Rathäuser, in the bureaucracy. It's not only this question, it's also the question of really money making from tech companies and taking away whatever they can. So for me, it's really not easy to understand or to have an idea that it will be better in 5 years. This is really a bad answer. I'm sorry for this. But I think if we start now to have a real debate with people who really know about what to do and what is the issue about, we could start the debate. And this would be like the most important thing.
Yeah, I agree with what she said about like that the base of technological advancement is very fast than the political regulation or the political debates. I would say 2 things in this regard. The first things I want to say about AI in general, and I think is important for the technology itself, like to understand the technology itself and to have the right debates about it. So if I ask everybody, for example, like to close your eyes and to imagine the AI, just for like a moment. And I think like most of us will imagine the AI as a robot. And if I do like a Google search, I will see like most of the search is like the collective imagination about the AI is like kind of a robot, which I would call anthropomorphism somehow. The kind of like fast pace of technological development, which is not equalized with the educational system in general and with understanding of technology, and not also in line with kind of equality in digital access around the world, created from this AI things as a complicated concept that people start to see it as one entity, as a hero, as somebody who's coming like a mythological character. Either we want to see as like a fear or challenge or have like a personal interaction. Actually the same mechanism that creates religion somehow. How we see God, how we see like mythical characters or heroes. And in my point of view, this anthropomorphism, it's kind of flattening our perspective for this technology, because it says that the AI does that, the AI is responsible. But in fact, it takes the responsibilities from the companies who created this technology, and it also flattening the complex implementation of this technology itself in its diverse uses. So I would prefer, for example, to say like the Mid-Journey company has violated the copyrights of the people, and those who created, who've been responsible is like blah, 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 blah. Or I would say like the AI technology that has been implemented in this field is okay, or it's in this company. So rather than like seeing it as one entity, I think it's very important to break it down and to see it as a technology itself. And I think part of this visualization as of a character, it's also coming from the marketing companies. And it started to be very viral after the ChatGPT. Because they want, all those companies who are using AI technologies, they want to feature kind of this celebrity, this like, this kind of celebrity robots or celebritical character, magical character, and they want to say, okay, we are featuring this character, so then it's become more popular. So part of it also is like a marketing strategies. And I think this is also important to be taught in education, to understand the tools, to understand how is it becoming. Like, in general, if we close our eyes and we imagine the AI technologies, we would see like a CEO with a product manager, with people with the strategies, who's like doing data science and like analyzing the market and having all, and this mechanism itself is important to know whose responsibility is that and to put the regulations according to each one's responsibility rather than to say it's the responsibility of this fictional character. The second thing I want to say in like regulation, it's really important, as you say, that it's very slow, like the base. And I find it's slow in regulation, and it's slow in education as well, which is very important. Our educational system is so slow, and the amount of like, we put too much money in weapons, but we don't put too much money in education. And this is very important. We're not creating like a kind of flexible entity. There is now actually something good in the EU happening, which is called the EU AI Act. And this started from 2021. It's kind of continuous of the GDPR. I think GDPR, the privacy things. And this thing is good because they are trying to put a regulation for the AI, and this is the first international attempt to put regulation in the AI in general in the world. So they have made like a 3, for example, act, like one act which is like prohibitant. It's forbidden to use the AI for social scoring, which is very important to collect data about people, to make like a human analyzing in society and stuff. This is, they forbidden it. They say it's danger in blah, 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 and it should be okay in this thing. So they make like a kind of a big list of how to make a regulation, which is very good, but also it makes me a little bit sad because whenever we're talking about human rights, we're talking about European human rights. We're not talking about international human rights. So I would prefer if this would be like an international act somehow. So yeah, so those are like the main point.
Thank you. We've started it with a fire of a few points. So let me put this, because you've written a book about how Airbnb distorted our markets, right? But maybe we should just talk to you people and not use the mics. I don't know. Anyway, Airbnb is one example of many an example which neither produce nor distribute products, but are what you would call dealerships. Airbnb doesn't have a flat of its own, but it actually connects people who do and then gets credit for it. Facebook, all of this, or Google that you have harvested enough of data to run us 3 times over. We have one after another of tech company that actually provides little to public value, but generates quite enough currency that it also is starting to affect our political conversations. In other words, the people we elect to such offices to actually regulate them have to be vetted by these people so that they could do anything jobs. Otherwise, they will be outfunded and out-lobbied out of office, right? Now we have the current, well, the future coming AI and our very essence of living in these societies we live. is there any chance that regulation of any sorts or a continuous, as you said, fastening of the legislative process in lockstep with what's changing ever happening? Can Germany ever learn to be faster in the way it legislates anything for that matter? Or should we wait for the AI to start the legislation as well?
Such an easy question. Maybe I can use your picture to answer the question, because if we close our eyes, as you said, and we look at Airbnb, we see apartments, rented apartments. It's the same with AI. If you close your eyes, I see the Pope with this white designer jacket. If I think about AI, you remember this photo on the internet, and yeah. So this is what I remember. But anyway, if you close your eyes and you think about Airbnb, you see like an apartment somewhere in the world. And this is interesting because you don't see like a platform that is just getting money out of a running system and a technological system. I mean, Airbnb could easily deal with cars, public spaces, whatever. It's just the system behind it, and like really having a digital system that can be used by other platforms as well. So nobody knows that, or most of the people do not know that Airbnb is a tech company and not apartment sharer. So this is really interesting, the picture that you made, because this shows the gap that we have, bringing together like what we see and what we have. I mean, it's the same with the money. If we look at big companies in capitalism, we would not think about the money they make and the system is running behind. And the same is with in the era of tech industry. We don't see the system behind. We only see like the product. This is wrong. So we have to change this first. And to regulate these companies, I mean, there's always a way. I'm a politician, so of course my answer is yes, of course there's a way, always. But there's a big missing that now in the European Union, the European Parliament had this Digital Services Act, which is really freshly made by the Commission and the Parliament, and it is really a miss of regulating the big platforms. It's already again, a big compromise for the platforms. So as long as politicians see platforms as economic chances, this will not happen, that there will be a regulation, that we really need to save common spaces, save our cities from money makers and whatever. So I think there is, of course, always a way to regulate, but honestly, we are very close at a point that a lot of people, not only communists, say we really have to expropriate these tech companies. I mean, since years we have the question of who owns Facebook. If all the people, I mean, Facebook is now dead, so let's not talk about Facebook, but let's talk about Instagram. So who owns Instagram or TikTok? It's the owners that own them, because if there's nobody else anymore on this platform, it's dead. So of course it should be owned by the people, and it's not. And at the same time, it is so powerful and makes a lot of money and has so very important, huge power in decision making. And so I would say we really have to confront the power they have, and to think about expropriation, and but really to regulate the platforms in the public. If we talk about the city of Berlin, and to talk about how to regulate a platform like Airbnb, it could be really easy to say, okay, let's fund alternatives like Airbnb that is already there. That's like a Genossenschaft that is made from coming from Barcelona. It's like a good alternative. The city could easily fund this alternative and have a good way people can give their apartment for renters in a legal way. It could be very easy to say everybody, if the platform doesn't show the owners of Airbnb, it will be closed, or everybody who shows for illegal rent possibilities has to close this possibility. So there are always ways, but for this you need policymakers that really want to confront this tech monopolies, and this is not the situation right now. And you really have to have like bureaucracy that is able to regulate. And in this, I have to say, what I have seen in the last 7 years in Berlin, we are in a very bad situation, because also the political sphere does not realize yet that we really have a problem with these data monopolies like Airbnb. And this is not just a question of just losing houses, which is really a big problem in the city, everybody knows, but as well having like a data company like Airbnb growing bigger and bigger, and you don't know what will be next. So in the end, we really have to...
A startup counting the other startups. A political startup that looks at the startups and says, okay, you have harvested data?
No, we don't need political startups. We need the liberals out of all the parliaments, and because they are the worst. And it's really important to have a political discourse about what's going on. I mean, like this discourse today, but as well having journalists talking seriously about this question, having like universities really talking about, not funded by the tech companies, but talking about the tech companies. We have to have, like what you said, education, fab labs. Pupils have to go next to the school to fab labs to learn how to decreate their iPhone and so on. It's really what society has to be organized, self-organized, to really confront this consuming of tech and really doing it on their own. And
I like when you say consuming of tech, because I think this is also at the essence of it. It's like when we consume tech, but we're not critical about it, we're not producing it, we're not like, it's one way of receiving, passive receiving. In this sense, a comment about also what you said about like the social media platforms who owns our data, and which I think it's a big problem talking about technologies or AI technologies, or in general like this data manipulation that's been owned by the big tech companies. And I was interested, like recently in some terms, one of it's called digital imperialism, which I found interesting in this contest, because the digital imperialism is referred to a new era of new power structure that allows big company to kind of manipulate people's mind even election, like what we know about the Cambridge Analytica scandal with the rise of Trump. It can create civil wars. It can create divisions between people. It can raise right-wing party. It can make racism even worse. And all of these because of the amount of data that they have from people and the monitoring of people's behaviors, reaction, prediction, and they can kind of control these behaviors in a way which fits the market, which fits the need, or even political agendas that, such as a Trump case or other cases that we don't know. So in this case, I feel it's really important to pay attention to this digital imperialism, what I would say, because it's owned by people who's not caring about equality in society rather than profit making. And there is another term which I found interesting, maybe it's so far, but it's also interesting, which is a new colonial order. It's like, because before it was like colonization was like about properties and land, but now it's about colonizing people's data. So it's also like we expose our data and stuff into these big companies and becoming like kind of brainwashed, manipulated in this system. I would believe that really political regulation is important in this sense, because also it kind of balanced the powers in power structure in the world. I also still believe that education is very important, rather than the children to be consuming the technology, but to be aware of media education, how it's been created. It's very easy for us to believe that the news is true, the Facebook is true, especially for children. The information that we're getting is true. If we don't understand the mechanism and the industry and how it has been made, we would believe that everything we're reading is true. But if we break this industry and we understand how this mechanism works, then we will be critical, and this is, I think, is very important in this sense. In the regulation aspect, sometimes waiting for the government, which I feel sometimes is a very heavy entity to move, you know, like it's like exactly like if you want to. It's a very heavy entity to move. Sometimes the movement comes from like the young people, from the people. It's like a revolution. It comes from the people, and then the government follow or something. So it needs to break a system in order to work. And one potential idea I'm seeing, which is still critical, but I can still like have some hopes about it. Somehow it's still critical, but for example, like the Web3 and blockchain technology. If we see the history of the internet or the web, first there was something called Web 1, where you can only consume data, but you cannot be interactive. Second, it comes the Web 2. The Web 2 is when our old data has been collected in servers for big companies, and then we start to be participating in the internet, like Facebook, Instagram, and all of these things under the Web 2. And now there's like a new term of Web 3. And Web 3, it's like a technology based on blockchain. And with this technology, people owns their data. So the data becoming owned by the people and not by big companies. And there are some kind of like a new experiments about how new social media will be generated when our own data is owned by us and not by the big companies. How, for example, music industry can be revolutionized through this, and every track is like, what is it called, NFT, but this NFT is only belong to the musician, but not to the big company. So there are some like movement. There's even like a book has been recently published, and it's published in Germany for an author from Egypt, but he didn't show his name. And he said how Web3 would change the system in Egypt, even it revolutionized the government system in Egypt through this technology, because also it's based about non-government, non-centrical organization. I'm just saying this for example. So if we think that the regulation from the government, and the government is a very heavy entity, maybe it needs like a big revolution from the new generation, from the people, to create a new technology that stand for their right and stand against those big data. And that's what I hope for example.
But connected to that, like connected to what you were raising just now, we earlier spoke about how easier it was, for example, be it in Syria or in Ethiopia, to buy software for cheap, so that you can endeavor creatively and far farther and faster. And now you're in a land of intellectual property rights, so there are things there. And then the second part of it, as you described to me, was digital inequality. So example given is some IT professionals coming from, say, Syria or Ethiopia can sometimes find this country is quite backward when it comes to its IT technology. So what has made the bureaucracy or the system in this country, let's be specific, quite, let's say, as speedy as this part of the world? The ecosystem, it turns out, in that part of the world you come from was so competitive, I'm guessing, is why these IT professionals are so on the spot. Whereas, is progress being retarded in this part of the world by this IP and these technologies? Or is there something that we've missed when it comes to bureaucracy or anything?
You mean like why it's not, for digital inequality? For digital inequality, there's like, there's a big aspect about it actually. Digital inequality is very important topic in general when we talk about the access of technology. There are some countries that they have sanctions that they cannot, for example, having PayPal or like having MasterCard or like to pay some services online or to be prevented from using certain services online. But for sure there are like people who find their way in hacking systems because they used to live in a system that need to be hacked to be survived. In Syria, for example, and funny enough, because there is like a copyright issue, so we don't have copyright because Syria is not part of the trade organizing whatever system because of the sanctions and stuff. Exactly. And so that's why we have all the things were hacked. And in a way, we had access to many softwares, like we could buy any software in €1, for example. And by the time, like, we find people are very creative and good in working with technology because of this fact. But this is one aspect of it, exactly, because like this copyright create like a hacked system that people can hack it and they can learn and they can have like advancement in technology and stuff. And the other part which is sad, which is like there is really inequality in using this system. I would say something that this inequality is like very complicated and it has like many layers of let's say, of complexity. Like a very simple example, which is a little bit of harsh reality example. If we say like, if we know that a few years ago, Germany has sold like a big military weapon equipment to Egypt. Yeah. And which we know that Egypt is a dictatorship system. Yeah. And if you kind of sell these weapons to a dictatorship system, you're enforcing dictatorship. This dictatorship system, for example, is preventing people from using Web3 and blockchain technology because they know if it's decentralized, then they're using their centralization. So it's also so the enforcement of dictatorship in different countries is enforcing digital inequality. It's enforcing any kind of advancement in technology that might threaten any liberation movements or something like that. So I think it's very complex in this sense.
Basically, because this country said, as you said, Germany says that these softwares are used to survey the population, stop any content creation, and if it's anything that is free and democratic, to stop it.
Exactly. So they're stopping like in my point of view, this act enhance or like empower a dictatorship regime. That this dictatorship is kind of controlling the technological advancements, which might lead to a better human right.
Or worse, it becomes systematic in the sense that the very advanced government coordination actually leads to a polarization, ways to stifle creativity and stop
for example.
Yeah,
that sounds amazing.
Yeah, that's a terrible scenario to look at, I suppose. But so we're told to hold it. So that's supposed to make it better. Apparently, that's going to solve this problem, but we'll see. today, as much as I can, we will talk about politics and what you've done your work on and what you've done. But let me start, or let me at least further the conversation by this. The EU has just posted a report that said Twitter was the largest platform for disinformation, specifically Russian misinformation and disinformation throughout Europe. Now, I try to look at the definition of disinformation and cut short. What disinformation means is government-sponsored campaigns of information dissemination towards a negative outcome in another country. It's basically saying the Russians saying the Ukraine is not a country is a disinformation. And the EU has finally come up with this damning report, and yet we discover they're not going to do anything about it because of public property and every country having its own decision-making authority within the EU and them having nothing to do with it. Now, when they manipulate the economic system for financial benefit is one thing. When they go exactly against the democratic institutions that are supposed to run these countries, where is the line where, as you said, short of expropriation, that a corporation is stopped from doing anything, or essentially disconnected from a system for providing harmful content to a democracy at large? Where is the line, or where is let's say, where is the legislative capacity come in to stop such a thing? If, for example, Germany found out that Twitter is doing this, would Germany have the power to stop such a thing? Would politicians agree to stop such malicious interference in the country's political affairs?
Okay, ich werde jetzt auf Deutsch sprechen. Also, das kann ich auf gar keinen Fall. Ist das okay? Ja, das kann ich auf gar keinen Fall auf Englisch beantworten. Also, das ist sowieso schon eine sehr komplizierte Frage. Ich würde sagen, von dem, wie wir Politik die letzten Jahrzehnte erlebt haben, können wir nicht erwarten, dass solche Desinformationskampagnen gestoppt werden. Also ich bin ein großer Fan von Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, die gerade diese ganze Desinformationskampagne, Trump, Impeachment, whatever, aufarbeitet. Ja, und man muss sagen, dass ja die Frage, wo sind Menschen, die sich einem solchen großen Widerspruch in den Weg stellen, die sich einem solchen Angriff in den Weg stellen. Das ist ja schon sehr schwierig. Also du wirst in Parlamenten einen Bruchteil von Leuten finden, die willens, erstens, und zweitens in der Lage sind, sich intellektuell damit auseinanderzusetzen und sich anzulegen. Das ist ein riesiges Problem. Weil in den Parlamenten sitzen in der Regel Leute, die da irgendwie hingekommen sind. Das sehen wir in dem Versagen, dem politischen Versagen in vielen, vielen, vielen Parlamenten. Deswegen fehlt mir ehrlich gesagt die Fantasie, ob so eine Sache, also die Frage von Desinformationskampagnen gegen Twitter tatsächlich aufgeklärt wird. Es gibt ja im Bundestag tatsächlich sogar einen Ausschuss für Technologie-Folgenabschätzung, den finde ich ja total gut. Aber den kennt keiner und der macht auch nicht viel. Ich finde, das gibt schon einen Hinweis darauf, wie eigentlich das technologische Bewusstsein in der politischen Auseinandersetzung in der Bundesrepublik Deutschland auf dem politischen Parkett angesiedelt ist. Also es findet nicht statt. Und vor dem Hintergrund, du hast nach der Grenze gefragt und die Grenze ist Demokratiegefährdung. By the way, ich war gar nicht darauf vorbereitet, dass wir heute so große Themen besprechen, aber lass uns das machen. Ich will dann aber schon auch klar Farbe bekennen. In einem Land, das den Verfassungsschutz nicht im Griff hat, brauche ich nicht darüber nachdenken, ob irgendwer Twitter enteignet. Also das ist einfach, du weißt ja nicht mal, was die Bundesrepublik Deutschland da vielleicht auch für einen Anteil drin hat. Also ich könnte das ehrlich gesagt nicht sagen. Wir haben gerade einen Untersuchungsausschuss im Berliner Landesparlament, den haben wir Linke erkämpft, an der Seite der Bewegung der vielen Menschen, die unter Polizeiwillkür leiden in dieser Stadt. Rechter Terror, gedeckt durch die Berliner Polizei. Und was dort sich abspielt, ist nur unfassbar.
Ja, was der Beispiel von Jan Böhmermann gemacht auch im
Ja, und
Polizei in Frankreich. Ja.
vor dem Hintergrund muss ich sagen, sind die Institutionen einfach extrem schlecht aufgestellt. Und zwar alle. Und das heißt nicht, dass wir jetzt alle den Kopf in den Sand stecken sollten oder einfach nur sagen, alles ist scheiße. Aber man muss sich natürlich vor dieser sehr schwierigen Frage, die du stellst, die Frage stellen, was ist die Arbeitsgrundlage? Und die Arbeitsgrundlage ist, dass wir einen Verfassungsschutzpräsidenten, einen Ex-Verfassungsschutzpräsidenten Maaßen haben, der rechtsextrem ist und jetzt einen neuen Verfassungsschutzpräsidenten, der, ich weiß nicht was, aber einen Verfassungsschutz, der deswegen ja nicht plötzlich viel besser aufgestellt ist und ein riesiges Polizeiproblem, weltweit Proteste gegen Polizeigewalt, gegen diskriminierende Polizeigewalt. Also da habe ich Hoffnung auf die Menschen. Gibt es einfach zu Recht starke Bewegungen, antirassistische Bewegungen weltweit in Städten und Ländern, die sich dem in den Weg stellen. Die Institutionen sind aber eben so stark, dass ich diese Reformfähigkeit wirklich ernsthaft in Frage stelle und vor dem Hintergrund auch mir nicht vorstellen kann, dass irgendwer bereit ist, Elon Musk zu enteignen. Letzter Punkt, wir haben hier vor der Stadt das Tesla-Werk, wo jetzt schon richtig große Fragezeichen und Probleme auftreten und eigentlich Politik klar sich ein Stoppschild setzen müsste. Und auch das passiert nicht, obwohl wir eine Wasserkrise haben und man sagen müsste, es ist nicht akzeptabel, dass ein Tech-Gigant hier Elektroautos herstellt auf Kosten von Natur, Umwelt und Mensch. Auch das wird nicht gemacht. Es gibt jetzt riesige andere politische Skandale. Da wird lieber der Chef der Wasserbetriebe, der Wasserwerke, wird lieber sozusagen kaltgestellt, damit man das politisch weiterhin machen kann. Also es ist wirklich nicht in einer Situation, dass wir die Rahmenbedingungen haben, wo in den Institutionen Leute sagen, Stopp, Demokratie muss geschützt werden und es gibt massive Übergriffe von Privatkapital immer wieder gegen die demokratischen Institutionen oder aus den demokratischen Institutionen heraus, die einer Faschisierung der Gesellschaft zuträglich sind. Und das ist wirklich beängstigend und deswegen müssen wir uns da wirklich richtig, richtig doll Sorgen machen und deswegen auch aktiv werden, also alle sich antifaschistisch organisieren zumindest schon mal.
I'm not sure.
I will repeat, I will paraphrase the question. As I said, the EU discovered Twitter, right? This is not the first instance. Facebook has been caught doing disinformation in Myanmar. The genocide that happened against Rohingya had clearly an informational campaign by Facebook net regulating content because a lot of the filth that was thrown there led to a certain campaign of genocide. These companies have now caught several times now. But they are now inciting in this part of the world that dearly wants to save its democracy, these negative campaigns. Nothing seems to happen. Yeah? So short of expropriating this country's money or value or property, how does a civilization defend itself from the thing that itself created?
How can the society defend themselves from the thing?
Society is one thing, but if you had a government, you would have liked to have a government that is, how do we say, it works, it runs before it works so that it counters this, right?
Yeah.
Now it's a fact that the largest, as they say, the largest are Twitter, Facebook,
For sure,
and
for sure.
all of them are now
For
platforms for disinformation.
Yeah, for
They
sure.
keep saying they will moderate content, but we know and they know it's a lie.
No, for sure. I have
Share
like,
profits
I have
first.
Like a big, I have a big.
And let me add
analyze
this
for
too.
Yeah.
You actually work on education of children and capacity, right? So how does one protect a civilization from the elderly or people like us who can read and write and discriminate some to the children who can't? What does one do?
But this is like a really serious issue. Like when we're talking about these big companies and stuff, and I think it's more and more start to be like aware. We start to be more and more aware about the dangers of what they're doing. Yeah. There should be like a clear regulation, governmental regulation. As I was saying, like it's like a digital imperialism, whatever it says, because it's based on data of people, and then it's controlling what they're doing. It's dividing people. So there should be like there should be some real act, governmental act. There should be some like social act. There should be some like educational strategies for not only for children, also for like even in companies, even in cultural institutions, even like there should be some kind of education. But I would say it would start with the children is very important. Yeah, I would say like a little bit of a story from this. When I was in Damascus, when we first were like fascinated by the Facebook, because you know, like all the media in dictatorship countries is, you know, like it's all the cultural institution, all the media is censored by the authorities, by the regime. So we say like, wow, we find this safe space, this place where we can say like, put our ideas without censorship, where we can also gather, because also in Syria, for example, if you want to have a wedding, more than 50 people, you have to have a signed agreement from the government. It's forbidden to have a group, gathering group. So we say, wow, we find the heaven. And actually with the Facebook, there's like all the Arab Spring movements, the liberation movement, Occupy Wall Street. It has a big effect of that. And it was actually useful at some point.
It had past tense?
It had at that time, because the Facebook changed its strategies. So at that time, I think even Facebook, they don't know where they were going. They were also experimenting. It's a new experiment. Yeah. So we saw like, we saw all of this. Suddenly you can like post, I could post at that time, I was posting like political posters and political art, and I was saying like, wow, it could spray everywhere. We could make like secret groups, organize ourselves to help places in need and stuff. Then slowly, as for example, this the conflict in the war and the armed conflict in the war were raising, and the Facebook start to be like this violent space that shows all the time violent images, increased division between people. In my point of view, and this is something I don't say, I don't think it has been said that much, but I really believe that the Facebook has a direct impact of escalating violence in a conflict zones. You would see like all these images, you would see people, for sure you will get like triggered and you will hate the other and will escalate. And it's funny enough, because during this time, before they start to have this also strange labor for their logarithm, like people to see this, we'll talk about later. But before, when they had this flow of like a crazy images, which is also, it was biased because it's allowed to show victims from places outside Europe or the USA. You would not see like violence images from these areas, but you would see like violent images from areas which you allow to see violent images somehow. During this time, there were like a parallel campaign which called Free Your Nipples. It was like not allowed to show women's breast, for example, on Facebook, but it was allowed to show like a woman's shattered body dead. So where is the censorship in this case? What is censorship? What is the censorship of those platforms? And where is it targeting from? For sure, my version of Facebook, where I was seeing with all this violent and escalating, maybe it was different from your version or from your version or from your version. It was directing me, and it was escalating my anger. And there is a leak of information that they say that they discovered that if you are angry, you will more likely to be more engaged or addicted to see information. So they had, it is a manipulation somehow, and it is like a direct effect of escalating violence and stuff. So the whole idea of our relationship with Facebook after that, it's becoming totally different, or those social media companies becoming totally different when they realize how much they are powerful actually, because I think it's an experiment, they were experimenting also.
When they are powerful, or when pushback started happening, because they were very happy to make shareholder prices high and paid their people billions,
for example,
by using disinformed content.
Yeah.
But government pushed back a bit and they pretended to do something about it, and the game is the same.
Exactly.
Even worse, in countries like where we come from, now they have given them what I call suicide keys, which is if a country starts organizing for another revolution, they now know how to cut the internet off to stop it.
For example.
Yeah? So the evolution of this is not for the people, but against the people, because the corporations have decided that being in agreement with this government is better and generates currency than being around that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the thing is, like, all these companies, they have this power in the world is wrong.
Yeah.
And this should be stopped at some point, either by government, either by education, either by, but government regulation. I think you were talking also about that. It's really important. Like, this is something is really important to have somehow.
Let's localize the conversation to Berlin, and let's have a short answer to this so that we can have one more question, and then we go back to our musical. We go to our musical interlude. How would the bureaucracy of Berlin, the bureaucracy of doing things in Berlin, be improved with better information connectivity? Who are the winners and who are the losers in this campaign of trying to fast-track things in Berlin bureaucracy? Be it government, be it social services, be it medical services or others.
As long as it's not only a campaign, I mean, this is just a future question. We don't know yet if it's only a campaign.
Will it ever be faster, the bureaucracy in Berlin?
I mean, this is really no fun to talk about the need why bureaucracy should be faster. It's, of course, the opportunity for you to get your ID faster, or for someone else to get some help, whatever. But as well, to get the bureaucracy faster is needed to stop like making Berlin monopoly for those who have the money to do it. So it is really no fun to talk about it in two ways. And I don't think that digitalization is the key. It's not. The money is the key. People is the key. Get money for like really build up the institutions, as well as transforming the institutions. It's a really important thing. As well, we have to talk about what happened in the last 30 years since reforms that neoliberalism made like a big cut in the institutions. Many people lost their working places in the institutions. So what would be needed when, like, for example, in Friedrichshain-Kreuzberg, 20 years ago, we had 200 gardeners from the institution for public, and now we have 20. 220 now. In the same time, the city grew. So we have to talk about, like, really seriously what is needed to make the city run, make the running system work for the public and not for the private. And I think, yeah, digitalization should be like state of the art.
It would be one of the tools, is what we're saying.
One of the tools, but it's not like the big clue to solve all the problems, as it is discussed now. And at the same time, we really have to face the big crisis of institution in terms of technologization. For example, the Kammergericht. I mean, we had a big crash at the big court in Berlin with a fiasco of data. So this is like just one case that shows up where we stand and how broke the system is. In the meantime, we had different other crashes with data issues in other big institutions. So we probably should have a look at what happened like during the last years. What has this to do with like the sensibility of democracy? Where is like the big gap? Like what do we lose from democracy due to this gap of technological fix? And I think, to solve this, we really need a bunch, like really politics being aware of what is needed in this era of technological questions, and as well the investment in public infrastructure, like both technological but also analog, and as well democratic education, so get people to know what they have to do and how to be aware. And it's a big bunch of things we have to do. But last point, with this coalition of the conservatives and the social democrats, it will not gonna happen. Because what we saw in the last 7 years, what I was faced with, coming from the idea of civic tech and making this city with a big scene of tech, people are aware of what can be done with public tech, bringing them into the political arena. What I faced was a political debate that is not able to understand what these people in the city are talking about, firstly. Secondly, no trust that people could do it better. No trust that there is like knowledge in the society make this system running also in a better way and in a cheaper way. But at the same time, the big belief in tech companies giving all they have, or taking all what is needed. So saying, okay, let's go to McKinsey, let's say this is our problem, and then let's ask Microsoft if they can solve our problems. So this will be always the answer you get on your question. And so as long as we have this situation as a big problem in the city, there will nothing fixed in the next years, I guess.
May I ask this question? Just Tan, is there, do you think, an age difference, an education difference, knowledge difference with regards to what these startup people yap about all day versus governance? In other words, governance requires people to come together and come up with legislations. Tech bros talk about how to solve a problem, but they're not really solving it, they're outsourcing it to someone. Is there a misunderstanding of the politics not understanding this, or the politicians not understanding this? Are they aware of the change that's happening beneath their feet?
Yeah, I absolutely think that I tried to answer this in German because it's so important. Ich wollte das vorhin schon sagen, auch mit dem Vergleich auf die großen revolutionären Bewegungen in den letzten 15 Jahren, die ja überall getragen waren von Internet sozusagen Organisierung, also sowohl beim arabischen Frühling als auch in der Eurokrise in Südeuropa. Ja, das ist auch ein Beispiel, nein, ich meine jetzt Istanbul, der Tahrirplatz. Diese großen Bewegungen, die ja durch Internetorganisierung getragen waren und in Barcelona zum Beispiel dazu geführt haben, dass dann mit einer linken Bürgermeisterin Ada Colau diese Idee von technologischer Organisierung ganz wesentlicher Bestandteil einer linken Regierungsidee für die Stadt war. Und das ist total interessant, weil diese Situation jetzt ja als Erfahrungswert uns trägt. Deswegen bin ich auch gar nicht so sozusagen skeptisch, dass es gar nicht gelingen kann, sondern ich denke schon, dass diese Erfahrungswerte der letzten 2 Jahrzehnte total wichtig sind für diese ganzen Zukunftsfragen, die du heute aufgeworfen hast. Ich glaube aber, dass das Politikmodell, was jetzt gerade auch genau an der gleichen Frage der zivilgesellschaftlichen Organisierung auch scheitert, also die vielen Regierungen, die weltweit scheitern, wenn Klimaaktivisten sagen, es reicht, wir wollen eine andere Politik und sagen, nee, das müssen wir jetzt aber trotzdem so machen und in dieser Weise gegen die Menschen regieren die ganze Zeit. Ist sozusagen, stehen sich da diese unversöhnlichen Blöcke gegenüber und wir sehen, dass tatsächlich dieses Politikmodell gegen die Menschen Politik zu machen massiv scheitert, in Permanenz. Die Frage ist nur, wann ist der Moment gekommen, dass es friedlich aufgelöst wird und am besten nicht durch einen Militärputsch. Also da habe ich große Hoffnung auch für dieses Leben hier in unserer Welt, aber ich glaube, dass tatsächlich diese Blöcke, die sich jetzt hier so in allen Ländern unversöhnlich gegenüberstehen, etwas damit zu tun haben, dass eben Regierungen viele Jahrzehnte in Deutschland zumindest getragen waren von, es gibt ein Problem, wir kaufen uns die Lösung ein, ja, und nicht zu sagen, da sind die Menschen, wir organisieren uns die Lösung gemeinsam mit ihnen. Und diesen Schritt muss man gehen. Und wenn man ihn nicht geht, dann läuft das Ganze vor die Wand. Davon bin ich überzeugt. Und genau das haben wir in anderen Ländern gesehen und in einer anderen Dramatik natürlich mit anderen Rahmenbedingungen. Aber ich glaube tatsächlich, dass deswegen diese Frage der zivilgesellschaftlichen Organisierung auch im technologischen Zeitalter jetzt wirklich sozusagen eine richtig große Stellschraube ist und eine richtig wichtige zentrale Frage.
There is a reason I asked this, because you raised it wonderfully. One was, an American example is, a senator put out a public vote saying, should we support the Ukrainians in their current war effort? And a group called NAFO, North Atlantic Friendly Organization, it is an online group of activists that are fighting disinformation in the Ukrainian war on the Ukrainian side. They got in there and made the poll so stupid, the poll was unbelievable afterwards. And this gentleman said, and I quote, who funds these people, who supports them, and who are they against? This 60-something old man forgot that these are voluntary activists who actually got together for a cause. They don't owe their loyalty, they don't owe their sovereignty to anybody else. Politics has come to an age where people now unite on these platforms and decide certain things that the politicians educated in the process of decision-making on ballot boxes and legislating that takes 18 months to even read are coming to such a disconnect. That's why I ask. The European version of it is the Klima protests, this the last generation conflict that's happening. Some of what happened in Bavaria to treat them as criminals and so happens from the disconnect that these youngsters are now connected on platforms and are looking for a change that you people who've done politics for 100 years in the way you do have not heard these people and decided to act against it. And I might even say there is a disinformation there for the information that reaches the politician. To call a 17-year-old a criminal for putting his hands with something is something to the point where, hold on, who's feeding you this information? These are your own citizens doing such a thing. Who's feeding you the disinformation to think these people are a menace to society and a danger to national security? Yeah? So there is a disconnect that I'm looking at. This is why I have the trouble understanding. Do these politicians even understand what's going on around them? Yeah. But I will leave it there and then ask my last question. This would be for Sulafa and me and Katalin. I asked this question and I actually took a poll. This was the only one I've done it. The conversation I had in my mind was, within this future, which is technically faster and information technology applied, there will be a role for minorities. In other words, I wanted to ask where minorities play in this. In other words, does this become advantageous to them or disadvantageous? Interestingly enough, what I heard was, especially from migrants that come to this part of the world, in the past 5-6 years, from the Syrian time of migration, what we've discovered is these kids have smartphones and they are connected. And one school of thought said, no, they will benefit from it because information is available now, and we're going to help one another get ourselves through the bureaucracy of belonging to this country eventually, being a productive citizen. Another one said, every time we think we make it, the goalpost changes. And therefore, as soon as we think we have the information changes, or we can't access it, or we're always trying to catch up to a system that's going faster, and it's going to go even more faster. So, Sulafa, how is this going to help us? Is this time going to be good to us, bad to us, or where are we going to get to?
To minority or to what?
To minorities that are in this Berlin,
Okay.
or for that matter, on a broader
The
perspective.
technology, you mean? The technology?
The fastness of information
fastness of the
technology
information.
and everything that is going to be going even faster and faster.
Okay. It's interesting when we talk about the minority, I have to really think a little bit about it because I think, for example, there is a misrepresentation in technology for minority, you know? It's hard for me to see like is advanced technology is helping minority or not, because I'm seeing them like part of the society somehow. So I see like the effect of the society is the effect on them equally somehow, yeah? But maybe I would feel it differently in the representation in the platforms. Even like when we talk, for example, about AI technologies, I think it's being designed in a biased way, and in a kind of a way...
From the get-go.
Exactly, from a way that like these tools that is being used by many people, by children, and it's becoming very popular, and it's becoming like one of the main tools that we're using in our daily life. It's designed in a biased way, in a way that it has a misrepresentation for minority or for diverse cultures or for different cultural group, because they're being designed in a centrical way, in a very centrical way. So in this sense, I would feel there is a danger in this, in the representation or in the use or in the fast base of these advanced technology, because they have been created and produced in a certain part of the world, ignoring the other kind of like cultural aspect and cultural representation of other people. So in this sense, yeah, there might be like some people who feel excluded or presented wrongly, presented in a narrative that is not really their own narrative. So in this sense, it might be problematic.
But so the question then becomes, designed as it is to serve a majority in which the minority was never counted, how do we catch up is the question. First is, how do we make whatever is available also cater to the needs of the minority? But also as we go along, how do we make sure that there is a fair, equity is a very funny question, but at least a fair enough representation of this. How do we achieve that we get as fairer and accurate information about the services, that our participation in the political process, the society, civil gesellschaft, how do we go about that?
I would be very optimistic here and say education might help.
Okay.
So like still the education and also the fair education of different diverse group, including like different people, and raising debates, and education is making people first critical, and then, as you said, you remember consumer, then it might make them producer, not consumer. So if you start to be like a producer of the technology that you consume and critical, so that might help. Actually, we had like me and Karam, who's back the camera and who we cannot see.
Karam is the cameraman.
I worked with Karam with like a few workshops with kids where we used like augmented reality. We used advanced technology for like different children from different migration backgrounds. We kind of also in a fun and creative way, also because now the kids are very advanced. You cannot go to the kids and tell them, okay, this is a paper, draw me something. It's like they will see it, you know? So you have to be like eye-to-eye level. You have to give them like a really interesting material that they will be engaged. Otherwise, the TikTok is, you know? Yeah. So we designed like a really professional something that for us it's fun, you know? So, you know, if it's for you, it's fun, so then the children will like it. But we had like an interesting experiment. So in these workshops, we were doing like a green screen, how news are made. We encouraged the children to create their own media content from A to Z, showing them the whole process, engaging it with augmented reality, with different applications and stuff. And then they own it. So they own it and they own the industry. And it has like a really positive effect. So the only thing is like how we really create like a flexible educational system that allow not only like a fund application that is just for children to make, but it's a really eye-to-eye level and like high standard, you know, like.
So a curriculum in schools that teach them how this is.
For example, and it's open. So it's like a curriculum that has some innovation parts that allows this kind of, so I would say like this is for me one optimistic part of seeing it in this way, and including for sure like children from different migration and minorities and different languages also. And stuff.
Well, the question is, who will be majority anymore? Yeah. Just answering, trying to open up for future talks. And as well, I think, I mean, what I experienced last year with the Iron Revolution was I was overtaking the, oh Gott, ich weiß nicht das Wort, also ich habe sozusagen eine Patenschaft, for an imprisoned activist, and due to this, I checked out like the Instagram profile of some activists, and so I was like in the middle of like feeling myself being in iron, yeah, because my bubble is definitively not haven't been there before. So I saw pictures of the streets, like houses, and I was like, wow, this impressed me, because I was aware of this situation of the political activists, and at the same time I had the chance to see YouTube profiles of other people, parts of like the society I never went to. So I think, of course, there is like an opportunity for those people that are like trying to change the world. But at the same time, if we look at the resources that are used and needed for all these technologies, we have to question ourselves if this is like really a circulo virtuoso, so like ein Teufelskreis, that cannot be broken, because the more we use, the more the war on resources are getting bigger, and the more people have to flee. Yeah. So I will answer your really big question again, maybe with a question. Yeah. If it is really, if there's hope, definitely due to technology there is hope. Yeah. But if we don't face the means of production and the way technology is produced, and who can decide what will be produced, and like the resources, there's no democratic way to decide who needs which resources. Yeah. So as long as we have this situation, I'm really afraid that this circle of really making everything more worse will be worse.
Yeah. As a public service information, I would say that the Finns have a very interesting project where they are teaching classes 7th grade and above. I hope it's still going on. I read this story 3 years ago, which teaches them to spot fake news from the grade 7 up to high school and forwards. In other words, these kids are told to not just look at the news, but to look at its veracity based on the sourcing of it and much more.
Very good.
Do you think we can do something like that here?
I hope. It's good, exactly, it's very good.
So essentially there are tools that in which we can counter, and the better these tools are applied with minorities in hand, I would say, is the better. Enough of us having a chat. I would like to open the public now for conversations, comments, or suggestions. I shall give my own mic because I should now be silent. Anybody got a question or any comment that you would like to share? Suggestions? Intellectual appraisals?
Yeah, where to start? This was a very complex kind of conversation. I thought what sprang to my mind was two really artistic, interesting words. The one you used was decreate Facebook, which I find interesting in an artist thinking kind of concept. And the other one, of course, would be deconstruction. So I think as much as students should be shown how to produce. They also should be shown how to deconstruct, pieces of media. So that covers the one aspect of it. On the political base, I would say, I mean, there is Robert Mercer in the US, okay? So Robert Mercer is known to be Donald Trump's largest endorser. Yeah, he donates the most, or has been donating in the last campaigns the most to Donald Trump. So you have a name, you have a person, you can personify a company or several companies. So what government that can be sure of its own institutions, then should be able to be doing is go and legally tax them. On the one hand, and on the other hand, minimize the political influence. But what we look at in reality is actually we have Musk, we have Mercer, we have God knows who, the Amazon owner, who have an amount of political influence and power that we should think, how can we minimize that? And that's also, I think, a process of deconstructing, i.e. the way how they got there. So we need to change our values away from having more and more and more and more, i.e. the greed. So, but what do we put into that kind of value system instead? When money doesn't count anymore, what do we put in its place?
Time?
Question open
Leisure?
to everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody would like to add anything?
Maybe I can. I would like to add something. By the way, it's not only expropriation; it's also tax the rich. Thank you for your statement, and at the same time, I would like to add that my party, Die Linke, is the only party that gets no money from private companies. All the other parties get money, big money from the companies. So you're invited to be a member. And last one, what you or what we didn't talk about today. I mean, we didn't talk about Wikimedia and Wikipedia, and we could also talk about Julian Assange. And this is like the big scandal we have since like the question of the free internet and free media. And as long we have this big scandal not solved, we definitely, know what to talk about.
But there is an interesting conversation there. A country as Germany, which calls itself a social democracy, is run differently than a country in the United States where capital runs amok. Which is why from slavery to today, the injustices have not been solved for a reason. That's how a country runs, and it's declared so. So in your relationship to a social democracy run by the interests of the people coming first with capitalism, there is where the disconnect happens, which is for a very long time, social democracy that is Germany is under the onslaught of neoliberalism, where while it pretends it's stopping it properly, we find the political landscape has changed. If the CDUs of the world can take as much money, there is no reason they would serve the public rather than serve the interests. In other words, there needs to be a constitutional sort of limit as to not just the funding you get, but who you cater to, and what level of time you have to spend with your constituents, dealing with public issues or constituent issues, as opposed to being ridden everywhere else with a limo or what. And you would think this part of the world does it better, but we'll see how this change is going to bring about when it comes to our, a democratic apparatus that needs to serve the people. Anyway, I see no one wants to say anything, so I leave the last note to my guests. Sulafa?
Thank you very much. It was interesting debate, and I'm glad that we talk all together and glad to be here. I just want to say that it's hard to stop the technology. We have to take it as it is. Like sometimes also some utopic ideas, it's difficult to stop like a really evolving system. Yeah. But what we can do, we can be, as we said, critical or destruct and rebuild, and we can know how to deal with it. Yeah.
Thank you. Katalin, what does our near future look like, or what would you like to say?
Let's have a look at the past. This would be very helpful to raise questions how to structure the future. And as well, I would like to thank you for this really big question you raised today. I was not aware of this.
I assure you it was not the intention. We're going to have a light-hearted evening, but...
No, but I really like the conversation, and I really take a lot out of it, and to really make this point of, stop, maybe not tech, but stop big money. And this is also a question of democracy, and stop capitalism.
Well done. Okay. This has been the fifth and final show of Civic City, The Art of Cohabitation in Berlin, produced by yours truly here, Karam Kapp, Johannes Braun, Ranav, and many, many more who have contributed to this. We will have a short music interlude or a short break before a musical interlude joins us. I'm very humble and I thank you all for coming, and we will go to this musical interlude in a short period of 5 minutes. 5 minutes break, and then we'll go to our musical guest. Thank you very much for anybody who's showed up and listened to these debates. And for those of you who are live, which is like 7 of you, I am very thankful that you're there as well. And hopefully I will get a platform, or we will get another platform to continue this conversation. I'm eternally grateful to Katalin Ginebur for being here and Sulafa Hijazi for being here. Thank you for everything that we have so far achieved. Have a good one. Thank you. See you in a bit.
She sits at the table, watching the street. She looks at the faces passing by, each 1 o'clock. Higher up, the sun hits a cornice. A jet shines silver. She wears only blue socks now and has been filling the gaps ever since. A way you'll never be. A way you'll never be.
ever clean, ever fresh, ever newborn ready. Wagwan, wagwan Aisha Devi. Sound well clear and sound well heavy. Sound well firm and sound well steady. Ever clean, ever fresh, ever newborn ready. Wagwan.
Wagwan Aisha Devi. Sound well clear and sound well heavy. Sound well firm and sound well steady. Ever clean, ever fresh, ever newborn ready. Wagwan, wagwan Aisha Devi. Sound well clear and sound well heavy. Sound well firm and sound well steady. Ever clean, ever fresh, ever newborn ready.
Seca, te sale el humo por las orejas. Menos pensar y más menear. Menos quejas y más perrear. No te hagas el culto y mueve tu culo. Tu carne te pide libertad. No está nada mal, nada mal. Sabes moverlo fenomenal. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. Ven y baila con Clara y Maupa, dale menea, baja y suda, sube, sube la temperatura, siente retosa, ponte, disfruta. Mira, mira, mira cómo vengo, tengo aquí. Date la vuelta, date un paseíto, luce tipito, ay qué bonito, ese meneíto, rico, rico. Hueles el humo del infierno, oyes tus huesos en el fuego. Son nuestros cuerpos bien pegados, se frotan, se buscan, es puro pecado. Qué guarro, qué sucio, qué turbio. Vengo a cantar y tú a ronear. Ven a sacudir, ya no puedes huir. Estás en nuestra rampa, a ver cómo te escapas. Ay, 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 ay. Mi pobre corazón, no muevas tu bombón. Miras, juzgas, nunca lo dejas. Amigo, hay que saber bailar para poder. Y si no sabes bailar, pues lo intentas. Esto no es un paso adelante, chicos. Estamos aquí para
what Mama Bicho means.
I'm Mama Bicho. I'm Mama Bicho. I'm Mama Bicho. I'm Mama Bicho. Mama Bicho. I'm Mama Bicho. I'm Mama Bicho. Mama I'm Mama Bicho. I'm Mama Bicho.
No, we don't know the way you're cooking up. Yeah, well, if you had done up, make me say. You got the cure, man, you got the remedy. Right.
Sexy girl alone, we want go near. Girl, they enough, buff. Drinks in a cup, enough. And we pocket never broke, hush. So put the lighters in the air and make me see the hands up. Rock the party, everybody, rock the party. Chop the party, everybody, chop the party. And then we slap the party, everybody, slap the party. Your body, everybody, rock your body. Girl, them a talking, let's skin a burn off. Me just drink a Guinness and a dozen Smirnoff. Girl a bump on them and so they can't turn off. All sad face, me want you start laugh. Yeah, so the joy and the fun can't done. Girl a dash out like water pan ground. Tell the bartender for bring another round come. Girl a bubble up like them a chew bubble gum. Chop the party, everybody, chop the party. Slap the party, everybody, slap the party. And then we chop the party, everybody, chop the party. And then you rock your body, everybody, rock your body. Senior girl, you a move, sir. Senior girl, you a wine, sir. Turn it back, we make me touch you. She taste it and say, oh, it bitter, sir. Pretty Layla, long out your tongue. Bust a wine now, start bubble down. Make a girl know, the part the money come. You got the glue, you got the gum. Rock the party, everybody, rock the party. Chop the party, everybody, chop the party. And then we slap the party, everybody, slap the party. And then we rock the body, everybody, rock your body. How job prepare table before I in the present chance to find enemies. Though the road may rough and tough at times, Jah we guide I through times like these. Protect I from all those indicious species and from those presumptuous enemies. Yeah, my guiding star, you make me prominent. Preparing for the future, I am provident. Ruler of the earth and all the elements, I stand so firm, there is no replacement. Here I am, me and me goal. Me nah get rid I and go sell my soul. Me nah go the wrong way that I've been told. Myself I've got to control. Can me see it again? Jah I am my guide me on the street again. From hypocrite backbiters and flesh eater them. Can't win the battle, I defeat for them. Praise the police and the prison them. Far you fi stay from the whole of them. I never let them catch you in the trap again. Jah I am my guide and protect again. Yeah, my guiding star, you make me prominent. Preparing for the future, I am provident. Ruler of the earth and all the elements, I stand so firm, there is no replacement. Here I am, me and me goal. Me nah get rid I and go sell my soul. Me nah go the wrong way that I've been told. Myself I've got to control. Me and Jah a stroll. Burn them a passion and the birth control. Free up get to youth and put some on parole. Make them drop a road and get a payroll. Oh no so heartless, oh no so poor. Free up all the gate and the port more toll. Press on get to youth and don't sell no soul. Tell your liquor that I no dance man no cool. Yeah, my guiding star, you make me prominent. Preparing for the future, I am provident. Ruler of the earth and all the elements, I stand so firm, there's no replacement. Here I am, me and me goal. Me nah get rid I and go sell my soul. Me nah go the wrong way that I've been told. Myself I've got to control. Can me see it again? Jah I am my guide me on the street again. From hypocrite backbiters and flesh eater them. They can't win the battle, I defeat for them. Praise the police and the prison them. Far you fi stay from the whole of them. I never let them catch you in the trap again.
Toda la gente me atiende cuando yo le canto ay brioso. No le doy la tregua al enemigo embrioso. Solo doy a la gente lo que la gente me brioso. No era mi intención hacer ese estilo un poco de lo sé que no paro, no paro. Disparo y nunca termino. Y el reggae nunca fallece porque Yankee está vivo y está aquí para darte lo que nadie está por ignorar. Que es el perro vagamo fe que te pone a danzar. Como dice, donde mi nombre no vengas. Si quieres de mi perdón ahora. Y dice, donde mi nombre no vengas. Si quieres de mi perdón ahora. Yo soy un hombre con estilo grande y siempre misterioso. Al entrar cantando dice la gente es maravilloso. Toda cualidad mi reggae ahora la crio. De toda mi gente siempre vivo orgullo para que tú sepas que nunca te era de mi perdón. Porque a mí se falta muchas cosas decías. Tú hablaron como una moneda que lleva dos caras de señor. Yo le digo que mete su cara a la que nunca es señor. No, donde mi nota. Si quieres de mi perdón ahora. Y dice, donde mi no vengas. Si quieres de mi perdón ahora. Yo lleno al hombre cuando canta y la gente brinca. Esa niñora se mueve y busca de mi tinta. Yo le doy de mi ragamuffin si lo necesita. Yo soy hombre de promedio y el hombre te explica. Que tú mires a todo el mundo cuando Jackie canta. Tú lo ves ahora moviendo y después yo salta. Y comenta que ese reggae mira a mí me encanta. Esa es la de Yankee que no tira perdonar y dice, donde mi no venga. Si quieres de mi perdón ahora. Y dice, donde mi no venga. Si quieres de mi perdón ahora. Y Yankee viene acá y está seguro de que viene a atacar. No intentes parar a esta persona que no puede acabar.
Yo, architect.
Color money, time keep running from me. So far out to sea, I can't wait to kiss the sand. When you say you love me, do you really love me? High up in the tree, I reach down and get my hand. Grip me tight, I take you where you want. I don't gaff, I don't play, I don't front. Grip me tight, I take you where you want. I don't gaff, I don't play, I don't front. 2015, I thought my life was over. Put my soul inside this music shit and got stepped over. 2016, I lost my grandfather, a fucking soldier. That shit perplexed me, and I blame myself for all of it. If I was older, richer, less bitter, I'd be a better son. I was so obsessed with the figures, forgot about the sum. I was shown another way, and it was full of love. So even though a lot of shit depressed me, even though a lot of shit upset me, I remember where I'm from and shrug it off. I remember that this world is full of loss. Pretty color money, time keep running from me. So far out to sea, I can't wait to kiss the sand. When you say you love me, do you really love me? High up in the tree, I reach down and get my hand. Grip me tight, I take you where you want. I don't gaff, I don't play, I don't front. Grip me tight, I take you where you want. I don't gaff, I don't play, I don't front. I need the train, no rules, no sleep, no room, all night, roll up whenever we want. Outside, cruising around with you all night, alright, this cannot be true. We both to let loose on them. Made them call a truce on man. They don't know what to do when I'm on 10. Every night I was thinking about revenge. In the end, who I was and what I am. No mistakes, just events. Kill them all, they repent.
So far out, sinking way too deep. For too many nights I ain't getting no sleep. So far out, sinking way too deep. For too many nights I ain't getting no sleep.
صوتنا أوضح زي حفلة في نص الليل. عملية في البيت في الأقصى عمي حتى لو بكفر أصلي تدين. تبجيش فوت على الحارة بتغلب. مقنابل الصوت بالدق بتقلب. أنا شاب متكتك أصلي مرتب. صوتنا أوضح زي حفلة في نص الليل. عملية في البيت في الأقصى عمي حتى لو بكفر أصلي تدين. تبجيش فوت على الحارة بتغلب. مقنابل الصوت بالدق بتقلب. أنا شاب متكتك أصلي مرتب. ببلاط بعبي السما طلاق تنسيق تدخل على كفر عقاب. بدك جيش تفوت على مخيم نحكيش اسماء اذا حدا طلب. بدك جيش تسيطر هليكوبتر وضعك دهور. نحكيش اسماء هالعمي بنتي كده حدا فيكو صور، حدا شاف حدا صاف من الواقف ما بالدور، لأنا فالع جامعة ولا عمري كنت بسم النار ما بالدور في الدور ومركب استنى شوي، لازم نروح بلا شي ضايعة بطفي ايداي حط سلاحك شمر طلق بيروي ذراعك عناي 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 كواف كواف وكواف قشنن طبقة طلقة الرعب اطلق نكلك شداده بتمسخر وكنكلك شداده بتعلق وكواف قشنن طبقة طلقة الحب طلقة الصدقة طلقة الملكة طلع ملي نحفر في الارض ارض نطلع زي جن تليفوني بضل ضل تن نحفر بالارض ارض نطلع زي جن تليفوني بضل نصكم كلكم جواسيس هيكين علينا فطاحل لتاذى الزمن الصعب المر اللي فيه احتدم الجدل وبطل حدا يحكم على حدا فطاحل لتاذى الزمن المجروح الى قدر انا بمشي بلا روح على رب اتوكل انا نوح صوتنا أوضح زي حفلة في نص الليل عملية في البيت في الأقصى عمي حتى لو بكفر أصل تدين جيب جيش فوت على الحرب اتغلب مقنابل الصوت بالتخت بتقلب أنا شاب متكتك أصلي مرتب صوتنا أوضح زي حفلة في نص الليل عملية في البيت في الأقصى عمي حتى لو بكفر أصل تدين جيب جيش فوت على الحرب اتغلب مقنابل الصوت بالتخت بتقلب أنا شاب متكتك أصلي مرتب
لما نسلم نحكي وين وارد وين يكبر وين يقيادة وين وارد بعدي صديقي الغالي هادي الكلادة وين وارد خد جاكيتي بالبارد نم ببيتي بيتك هذا العك بينا لما نسلم نحكي وين وارد وين يكبر وين يقيادة وين وارد بعدي صديقي الغالي هادي الكلادة وين وارد خد جاكيتي بالبارد نم ببيتي بيتك هذا العك بينا وضع محير مش لابس طاقية وهذه الدنيا حكاية اللي بيعرف بيسأل شان الأحوال اللعبة اللي يسأل كيف حلي سمعتك كلك مبدئيا يبدو إنه وصلنا الكاع سندي الشرة تسندي باعك في شرك عنا خيا هي مش منظر هذه الطاقية زي هوية ما بتعمل زي أصلك أو بتطلق علقة فيها اسمع مين يسألك لك وضعك يوم كنت يوم تحكي الكل يضحك وفي يومك الأسود من بضحك يوم توقع من مدلك الداير بس بتطلع بالعلالية اوعك تطلع بالعلالية بس بتطلع بالعلالية اوعك تطلع بالعلالية